Welcome back to another CFL weekly show brought to you by the 11th Island. I'm Brad here with Chris. Today we're going to be recapping a fun-filled Week 11, looking ahead to a very impactful Week 12 for the CFL standings. But Chris, what are we starting off with first?
Intro music. Yeah. I totally flubbed that. Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm just gonna end that. All right, and we got to start on the first slide. Trading Trevor. Trevor Harris has been traded to the Montreal Alouettes. Brad, what do we make of this?
Well, the fact that we're not restarting, we're just rolling with it. All right, let's go. So Trevor Harris was traded for Antonio Simmons. He's going to Montreal from Edmonton. The absolute dumpster fire that is the Edmonton Elks. I mean, Trevor Harris is still a great QB in this league. Edmonton is just a trash franchise right now. But looking
Whoa.
at Montreal though, looking at Montreal with this situation we talked about last week, the Vernon Adams Jr. is hurt. It's a shoulder injury. I believe it's his non-throwing arm, but still, he might be out for we don't know how long, potentially this season. And Montreal Real has some aspirations here for a Grey Cup. They're in second place. They're only a game behind the Argos coming up next week on Friday, going to Toronto with a chance of tying for first. So what do you do here when you have Matthew Schultz as your starting QB? You make a big deal here. But do you think if Matthew Schultz keeps winning like he did last weekend, do you think Trevor Harris even starts a game?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, Schultz. I mean, what's the game this next week? Let me see.
I just said against Toronto on
Oh,
Friday.
Toronto. Yeah, Toronto. Yeah,
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 in
it's Toronto.
Montreal. In
In
Montreal.
Montreal, I think that's the linchpin game. That's where Schultz can really win a spot here. I mean, you're gonna show give your coach a little bit of confidence going out and dominating against the Red Blacks. But I mean, you really
Well,
gotta
I
prove
mean, he
yourself.
didn't even dominate the Red Blacks.
I
That's the
mean,
problem.
yeah. Well, he said you win against the Red Blacks, so you're gonna go
Yeah.
in and you get for the Argos. That's been a great defense this season. Very scrappy team, very tough team to win against, as we've seen. Now, if he can squeak out a win, that's a big statement to Trevor Harris packing his bags, heading to Montreal and being like, "Whoa, wait a minute, am I even gonna
Yeah.
get to play?" And
Well,
it, and
I think this is a really good situation for Montreal. They're in the best situation as they can be, given that
mhm,
their starting QB is hurt here, because obviously Trevor Harris will not be prepared for Friday, so you have to go with Matthew Schultz. If he
mhm.
balls out against the second best team in the league in the
Yeah.
Argonauts, you keep rolling with the hot
Well,
hand.
and,
If he
and Schultz.
loses this game, it gives you the perfect excuse to go to Trevor Harris, who you're going to be paying a lot of money this year and next year,
Mhm.
and is going to be a big name and face for this franchise potentially until Vernon
Yeah,
Adams returns.
but the reality is Schultz knows the playbook. He's played behind Vernon Adams
Correct.
all season long. So I mean that's another factor is I mean you're obviously you're gonna buy him time Trevor Harris time to kind of learn the system, learn such a dynamic system in
Mm-hmm.
like they got some crazy routes and everything. They got some crazy weapons that you really need to know how to use best. Like Vernon, no one throws like Vernon Adams. So to kind of teach the system to anybody, Trevor Harris is going to have a lot of academics to attend to for the next 2 weeks. But I just wonder if it's rocking the boat a lot. And then you think about, okay, so things is this a big gamble for the Alouettes to be making here? Because if you're paying Trevor Harris all this money this year, all this
Mm-hmm.
money next year, and then you can't pull anything off this season, which is still, I mean, let's not forget the cards. Vernon Adams are stacked against the Alouettes. They are a dark horse, but they are a dark horse. They're not favorites in this division. I mean, you got the
But
Argonauts
the thing
continuing.
is, Chris, they're not. They're in second place. They're only a game out of first right now. I don't. They might not be the favorites. I think the Argonauts are still the favorites, but I think they were a dark horse. I agree with you for a lot of the season, but they're pushing their way past Hamilton at this point in the season. I think they're really establishing themselves that they're probably going to host a playoff game.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't count out the Tiger Cats yet. I mean,
No.
Evans is coming back now. Let's see how
Mhm.
that impacts. Whereas I mean, now Hamilton's almost back to full strength here. When
Mhm.
it comes, especially with their QB situation. So I mean, we're talking about Hamilton Tiger Cats that finally have the pieces they want, and then Alouettes are trying to scramble to put some pieces back together right now. So
Mhm.
I mean, anyways, I'm just saying this is a gamble here that they're making, and if you can't pull anything off, if you can't make Trevor Harris work, then not only has he not worked for this season, now you're paying him a ton of money next season when Vernon Adams is back, and you're obviously going to start him over Harris. And so what are you going to do? Try to trade him away? But then his stock is diminished. He's not worth what you paid for him, because he hasn't finished the season, and he hasn't, been able to take the Alouettes deep in the postseason. I mean,
this is. I think I like this move from Montreal. It's a go all in move. We didn't sit around all 2020 waiting to play football here to just say our QB's hurt, we're not making a run. I like the move. I like it a lot, and I also think that going into the offseason, Vernon Adams, provided this shoulder isn't a lot more serious than we think. I think Trevor Harris, they look to move him, and I think the perfect landing spot for Trevor Harris is going to be Ottawa, because he spent a lot of time with Ottawa. You might not be familiar with the coaching. No, you might not be familiar with
Tom Flacco. That's the guy now.
No,
haven't you heard Tom Flacco? They picked up Tom Flacco. I mean, how many QBs do the Red Blacks have? They have 7 quarterbacks right now.
Okay, the Red Blacks are going to start next season. Devlin Hodges is there. I think they think that he's the future of that franchise. We'll look into that signing a little bit more in this video with how Caleb Evans did last week. But you start the season with Devlin Hodges and Trevor Harris next year. Trevor Harris has history in Ottawa. He's won a Grey Cup, taking them to another. You also start with Devlin Hodges. Trevor Harris becomes your safety blanket, kind of how Matt Nichols was this year for the Red Blacks, where it's an older, established QB that, push comes to shove, we know can go out there and be competent. The only problem with Nichols in that position this year is he was not healthy enough to be that competent. Trevor Harris is not banged up right now. He's healthy. And provided nothing else happens down the stretch here, he could fill that role in Ottawa. I think that's the best case scenario for Montreal, and I think, in all honesty, that's a situation that Ottawa's go look at that could fall into the lap this offseason.
Okay, so your take is they're not taking a gamble here.
Montreal?
This turns out good no matter what happens.
Well, I think you maybe take the gamble that, and there is a gamble when you're taking up that much salary, but when you're picking up a starting QB in this league for a rotational defensive lineman, I don't think you're gambling that much. And I think there's always going to be a market for Trevor Harris. And at the end of the day, if you got to pay big money to a competent QB, you just seen that you can always use 2 on your roster.
Yeah. Hey, that's a soundbite I was digging for. You got it. We got it. Yeah, but I mean, there's this kid, Tom Flacco, Joe Flacco's brother.
Is it actually his brother?
Yeah, it's his brother. He's on the Red Blacks now. They got enough QBs.
Is his brother a lot younger than Joe Flacco? Joe Flacco's got to be pushing 40.
Let me see. Tom.
Yeah,
Tom,
but also
right?
the Red Blacks also every other week it feels like they are signing
Tom
a QB.
Flacco, Canadian football quarterback. He went to. Tom is the younger brother of Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco plays for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. When I looked this up earlier, I was. I mean, Joe Flacco. What's that guy been up to? As of the 2021 NFL season, Flacco has the most career passing yards, and Flacco has the most career passing yards and touchdowns for any quarterback who was never in a Pro Bowl. There's your fun fact about Joe Flacco today. That was important enough to be in the first 3 paragraphs of his Wikipedia.
All right. Well, that's enough Flacco talk.
Okay.
I think the Red Blacks, Tom Flacco is not seeing the field as Ottawa Red Blacks.
Speaking of people that will see or have seen the field, the Bombers, they clinched now, right? They're the first place.
Yeah, they're in the playoffs. And I mean, the only thing is they looked human this week. The Edmonton Elks, the lowly Edmonton Elks that, I mean, are looking terrible this year, gave them kind of a run for their money. And is it kind of a wake-up call for Winnipeg here? I would say. I mean, in the fourth quarter there, when it was tied, Zach Claros put one right in the breadbasket for Edmonton there, gave them a chance to really make some noise, potentially put themselves in a spot to win, and of course they just threw it away in the next play.
Yeah,
Winnipeg scores, looks back.
Yeah, defensive end Eric Grimes. He was thinking
I mean,
double
you're just outing this guy
or
right now.
Aaron
Just
Grimes.
yeah.
I said Eric. Maybe I said Aaron. I said Eric instead of Aaron, and he was probably like, "Whew, I slid under the radar there."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
thinking of my brother.
it's a tough spot for the Elks. I mean, you kind of want to, especially after you trade Trevor Harris. You say we're going with Taylor
Yeah,
Cornelius,
but
who's
okay, I
a
think
god
we're
awful quarterback.
focusing too much on the big picture here. Let's talk about this one specific play.
Yeah, man, let the guy have a break, man. You think that guy's still thinking about that play? He definitely is. The
Yeah.
thing is though, for Winnipeg, is this a wake up call or is Winnipeg not as good as we thought they were?
Well, I think this is exactly. It looked like week 3 where Zach Collaros, he's a great quarterback. He's proven himself. He's really gotten better but he came back to that. He regressed that early season kind of lower completion rate, like not able to convert. The defense that is the best asset to the Bombers just it was on the
Mhm,
field too long. His O
mhm,
line was really under a lot of pressure that game. He was under a lot of pressure that game, making some bad decisions. With the
mhm,
football at times. Got away with
mhm.
he would have had. And how many interceptions did he have on the day? Let me see. Um, One interception. It should have been two. It should have been two, and if there was two, there was a loss there. They would have lost
Yes.
that game if that ball was caught. So and to go up against the Elks and do that, you gotta think about a few things. And then one of the biggest things is just the kicking game, which they've remedied now.
With the
Hypothetically,
trade.
hopefully they've remedied. They picked up Sergio Castillo from the
They
Lions.
and they bring him back. He's familiar in
Yes,
Winnipeg
yeah,
too.
bringing him back. So, and I think they gave up a conditional 4th round pick next season. So
Yeah,
that's
so
that's pretty
nothing.
good. And I mean the Lions clearly showing that kind of they're packing things up to an extent following a big
Y-
loss to the
Yes.
or the Stampeders.
Which yeah, we'll get into that too. But
Yeah.
I think Winnipeg can take this. They can learn from it. It's
Mhm.
amazing how well Edmonton plays this year when everybody writes them off.
Uh-huh.
The games where we expect them to be competitive, they get blown out. The games this one after they traded Trevor Harris and everything in the front office was looking terrible. They come out really competitive against the best team in the league. After they sat out a week because they all had COVID, they came out and beat the Stampeders.
Yes.
I mean, they just step up when nobody expects them to, but when anything at all is expected of them, they just simply cannot play
Yeah.
football.
And I
I
think
don't know what to make of this.
at the end of the day, I think what I'm gonna make of this in terms of both teams is I think what you started with, the Bombers looked human.
Mhm,
That's the thesis. And I think what proves that, what caused that to happen was just special teams somewhat weak. For the Bombers, a weak spot was revealed that just was never really relevant to games because they won so dominantly. And
mhm,
two, the Elks are this sneaky good when it comes to spoiling, and we've seen that from the Red Blacks as well this year. There's been a lot of spoilers,
mhm.
coming in, especially late in the season as teams start to scramble. The second and third teams in the division start to scramble, try to get the first or sure up their position, get a home game.
Yeah.
And there's the Elks and the Red Blacks have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. They got new QBs coming in, new looks. Cornelius is a fun playmaker out in the field. He can make some cool plays happen. Some trick plays happen. But
Okay. If you say he's fun, I'll believe he's fun. I
I'm
mean,
saying he's fun. I'm just trying to get people out in Edmonton. I'm a hype man. Okay, come see Taylor Cornelius. He played in the XFL.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and just
No,
think about it. Think about it. If it wasn't for COVID, who knows? The Vipers could have gone all the way that year.
when he wasn't starting, he was the backup.
Yeah, it's a ring's a
Aaron,
ring,
Aaron
Brad.
Murray was playing for
Yeah,
Tampa Bay.
a ring's a ring.
Yeah,
He
okay.
could he would have beat Aaron Murray for that spot.
Yeah, yeah. That Tampa Bay QB room was terrible. I'm not stepping on your toes with any takes here. Uh,
But
Montreal and
I'm
Ottawa.
just saying. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
saying.
We're
Okay,
not
I'm
done.
just
We're not
saying.
done. I guess
I'm
we're
just
not
saying
done. It's okay. Keep
the
going.
Elks. The Elks are pretty good. Don't count out the Elks. All right.
Okay.
Laos Gang win. That's for the Quebecers out there. That's the Elks or the Owls. I got Elks on the brain. The Owls win.
Yeah.
27-16 against the Red Blacks.
This
What do
game
we?
was not as close as the score kind of, even though it's an 11-point win, this
Mhm.
game was wider than that. Um, the Red Blacks, Caleb Evans, he come on strong with the Red Blacks. He's thrown a lot of kind of interceptions in not good spots. I think it might have been a case with Caleb Evans. I think he has potential, but it is a situation where there was such poor play with the Red Blacks when he came out looking competent to average that we went, holy, this kid's good, just because we hadn't seen the Red Blacks
Mhm.
do anything. And now we're kind of seeing that, oh, he's a average QB on a really bad offense, so he's going to get exposed. Montreal, I mean, though they did what they had to do, Ottawa this year has had really good defense and incredible special teams so far. Devontae Dedmon, just unbelievable.
Mhm.
So they did what they had to do with their backup QB Schultz. Win a game. Schultz didn't look like a world beater here, but he looked like a winning QB.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's definitely it's an interim game. For both like two interim quarterbacks, going up against each other. One in a position where, look, like things have been not great in Ottawa. We just got to maintain, hold the line, get to the
Yeah.
end of the season, maybe spoil a little bit. There's a chance, but really, we're just trying to not embarrass ourselves at this point. I mean, I was at the
Mhm.
Argos Red Blacks game, and that bench, the situation on that bench was not good. I was sitting right behind it. I mean, we're talking smashed Microsoft Surface, smashed helmets. It just not a lot of communication, and it's just like we are trying to hold the line here.
Well,
You
you're
know,
looking at a bunch of Ottawa players that are essentially at this point playing for their next contract, and
yes,
that's solely it. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and then on the other hand, you have Matt Schultz, who's in an interesting spot where it's like, okay, I've been the number 2 guy behind one of the
Mhm.
best and most exciting and most biggest name in the CFL,
Mhm.
and now I finally get my opportunity now that Vernon Adams is hurt. We're in a playoff run. We're heating up at the right time. There's things happening in the division that we have good matchups, which kind of afford us a lot of leeway in the standings here if we can keep this going.
Mhm.
But there's trade talks at the point of this game. There's trade talks going on.
Yep.
To find a guy that's gonna. So it's got to be a tough mental spot for Matt Schultz to be in, to go
It
out there.
does.
It cannot be an easy spot, in terms of the pressure to perform, but also the like how invested am I in this fully, of course he's going to be invested. I mean, he's on the team, but at the same time, it's like, man, like I've been waiting for an opportunity. Here I have an opportunity, and I might lose this regardless of how well I play in a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna. I think he keeps it until he loses a game. But I mean, they got a tough game coming up, like
Mhm.
we mentioned off the top. But the one thing that I do think, as tough as this game was going to be for him, the one thing that makes it easy is I think Montreal's wide receiver core stacks up with any team in the
Mhm.
CFL right now. I think they
Mhm.
have an outstanding wide receiver core, and when it comes down to it, they're top 2 for sure. The only team that I would put up there with them is Winnipeg. I think they have a really outstanding wide receiver core as well.
Mhm.
I they just got a bunch of ballers on that side.
Mhm.
So that really helps kind of an inexperienced QB having that faith in your receiver, seeing what
Mhm.
Vernon Adams was able to do with them and
Mhm.
knowing that they're going to ball out for you and
Mhm.
make some really tough plays. Like some of those catches that Geno Lewis has made this year, I
Uh-huh.
mean, nobody else has come down with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean to fight some wars with some cornerbacks too, like some real foot races
Mhm.
combined with just some spectacular catches for I mean they got the best highlight reel in the entire CFL this season.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
All right, speaking of another pretty good highlight reel, the Red Hot Stampeders,
Mhm.
really kind of putting the hurt on the Lions there, 39-10
Yeah,
for
this was
that
a
game.
y'all must have forgot type of game. I mean, I keep saying it every week, even when they were like 2-5 or something like that. I said don't sleep on them. They're good. Bo
Yeah.
Levi Mitchell does not play for bad teams, and here they are. They're 5-5. I think they're this Rough Riders would a half game up on them because they're 5-4. The Stampeders are a dark horse here that could make a real run, and they might end up having a home playoff game. And do you want to go into Calgary and play Bo Levi Mitchell when he's at home in a playoff game? Do you really want to do that? I mean, Calgary, they're too good. They're too good on both sides of the ball. And even on special teams, they're too damn good to be where they were at the start of the year. And here they are. They're storming back. They're hot at the right time. They're
Yeah.
peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
They're damn good. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they put it on the field here.
You don't want to think too soon, but I'm sure there's people out in Calgary that, were watching the game on TV and turned to their buddy and said, well, how long do you think it takes to drive to Hamilton in December weather?
Well, the thing is, Calgary too. They've been. I don't want to call them a dynasty because that's a really strong word, but they've been kind of at that level where it's been Grey Cup or bust for a long time for them. Pretty much the entirety of Bo Levi's career there. So I think there was a lot of just confusion at the start of this year because they're going, we've already bought our seats in Hamilton. What's going on here? Like I had the plane tickets booked. I have my 2 weeks vacation for the quarantine for COVID because I don't know what's gonna happen. Like they were going, we don't understand.
I got 5 vaccines just in case.
Yeah, but Calgary is playing to their potential at this point, and at this time, especially with a team like the Rough Riders, who are really kind of free falling at this time too. BCU's floundering out.
I mean,
the West is looking wide open for the Calgary to just ride it on out here and finish. They're not going to catch Winnipeg, obviously, but at least finish second.
Yeah. Well, maybe if the Elks had done their part this weekend, last weekend, maybe the Stamps could have caught them. Some intrigue there. Some intrigue.
Yeah, I mean they are still a 500 ball team. So and Winnipeg's 9-1 now, but Calgary, nobody wants to see Bo Levi Mitchell across the field in a playoff game, because once the playoffs come, no matter what you did in the regular season, it doesn't matter. And Bo Levi is one of the most clutch QBs in the CFL. Ryan in the comments is furiously typing at me right now, but that's okay. You don't want to see him, and come back to this video in 6 weeks when they're in the playoffs, and we'll talk about it.
The thing is, I think every team has been low-key trashed by us tonight in some way, except for the Stampede.
Yeah, and of course we never trashed the Argos.
I mean, not trash, but every fan base, I feel like something has been said that's gonna upset. You ever read the comments on CFL articles on CFL.com or CFL.ca?
Yeah, I'm sure they get pretty harsh.
They get pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, if you to go to a CFL.ca and you're like, I need to take some time to comment on this article, chances are you're not happy with it.
Yeah,
and
just like the people that comment on our videos.
Yeah, I mean Ryan's a great commenter.
Yes.
The other guy that deletes his comments, not so much.
Yeah, hey, stop deleting your comments. Leave us a real bad one. See what happens. But yeah. So there was I was reading the article on Trey Robinson, who the Stampeders have picked up now.
Again, picked back up after his time in the NFL.
Picked back up. He was with the Bears.
Correct.
And then somebody like Bombettes, someone called like Bombette, and she was like, "Well, it doesn't matter now because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are gonna run inside the Grey Cup. Doesn't matter."
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, I mean, the CFL's got some diehard fans though. Oh, that one cracked you up, eh?
Yeah, that one cracked me up. Maybe it's a long day of work, and I mean, I I was ready to fall asleep, and then I ate 4 pizzas, and then I said, "Hey, we're good to go. Let's make a video."
Let's go. Let's give
All
our week
right,
12 picks
let's
here
get in
too.
our week 12
This
picks.
is actually going to be a big week in terms of standings movement as we come down to the end of the season here. So I'm very excited for this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
Yes.
first game here, Chris?
So
And what's the line?
the first game is going to be, and this line is off the CFL website. So I realize they have this, so I don't have to go on the other website. Find them. Toronto
Correct.
against Montreal. Toronto is -1. Those are some crazy odds.
I think you take Toronto money line here. I think Toronto is the better team, understanding that Montreal is going to be starting Schultz, who we've only seen him in action against the Red Blacks, and that he hasn't really played that top level team yet. And I think that Toronto will come out strong
Okay,
here. I
so
think you take
McLeod,
Toronto.
Bethel, Thompson versus Schultz, 49.5, or no, not even, just 49 point over, under.
Um, That's a tough one. I think you take the under here. I think you go with the. There's been a lot more points starting to be scored in the CFL, but I think there's been a lot of unders this year. I think you stick with the under here with Bethel Thompson. Again, it's not a world beater. He's going to only put enough points on the board than he needs to win the game. And Schultz, again, do you trust him to put that much up? So I take the under.
I think it's going to be a defensive game. So the
Yeah.
next game, we're coming into Saturday. Red Blacks and the Ticats going on in Hamilton. Red Blacks are plus 14.5. So Hamilton, sorry, I should read this better. Hamilton's minus 14.5.
Wherever your book is, buy that down a half point to 14 and take Hamilton minus 14. I think Hamilton wins. I think they win big. Hamilton needs a statement game to put themselves really back in get teams to take them seriously here. And I think the Red Blacks are in a position that unfortunately that's going to happen to them. And Hamilton's defense too really needs to make a statement here. And against a rookie QB like Caleb Evans, or if Ottawa chooses to bring in another inexperienced QB for this game and bench Caleb Evans, that defense can really put a hurting on. So I think you take Hamilton. I think you take him big here.
With that in mind, 41.5 over under.
That's tough. That's really tough. I think you take the over because I think Hamilton puts a lot on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And if Hamilton is in the 30 range, I think all you need is Ottawa to get a score somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And then that might push over.
Evans or Mazzoli announced as starter a couple days before the game starts. Does that change as a better? Are you changing your over under based on that?
I'm making that decision assuming that Mazzoli is. If Evans comes in, I think Evans is the better QB, but and I would have to trust that Evans is healthy, but I don't think they would start him. I think they can ride with Mazzoli until Evans is fully healthy, or maybe just ride with Mazzoli for here on out. So I'm either way, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, because he's back now. He's activated.
But is he fully healthy? And he might not be fully healthy.
Well, and I wonder, I wonder if there's a strategy that involves saying, "Hey, we have a half to kind of burn against the Red Blacks, a first half of a game that we could kind of see what happens against the Red Blacks. Let's put Evans in just to get a temperature check."
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It depends on the severity of the hip injury that he had earlier, but I could see that.
All right. So then next we're going to the Lions taking on the Bombers in Winnipeg, going into the Lions Den, but it's the opposite of the Lions Den. The Bombers are minus 11.5.
Yeah, Bombers here.
Is that enough?
I mean, the Bombers. Yeah, no, the Bombers. I'm taking the Bombers here because the Bombers are now going to be angry because people think they're human. We're out here on this podcast saying, "Oh, they're beatable." Edmonton almost beat them.
They're touchable.
And yeah, they're touchable. And BC, BC, who's not looking great, is walking in there.
Oh,
and they're going to get smashed.
Yeah,
they're going to get smashed.
I mean, David went into the cave and cut off the bomber's cape, and now they're angry.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah, okay.
I don't understand the reference, but that's okay.
So 42 is the over-under on that game, which seems kind of low.
Yeah, no, I honestly take it under because Winnipeg's defense is going to step up here too, and I can see BC almost being shut out here.
Yeah, I mean the over-unders, the way the spreads have worked out, and the over-unders, the betting websites pretty much are saying, okay, it's going to be a 30-10 game every
pretty
time.
much.
They're saying that's all they're saying. And then next thing you know, it's Saturday night, and we got the Rough Riders versus the Stampeders again. This is a huge game. The Rough Riders, who are on the road, are sitting at minus half a point. It's a pick 'em.
Yeah, I think you take Stampeders here money line. I think they're rolling here.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's in Calgary.
Mm-hmm. In Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary. They're rolling right now. Rough Riders are floundering right now. Roll with the hot team, especially when they're at home. Don't overthink it. Take a money line.
All right. 44-point over-under.
Over. Calgary's going to put points on the board, but the Rough Riders cannot not put points on the board for a while. They got too good of an offense. It's gonna be a little bit of a shootout here, so we'll take the over.
All right, and that's the CFL action for Week 12. Those are the picks. So ride with Brad, fade Rad. We hope you win some money and watch some good football. If you're into gambling, if you're not into gambling, or you maybe have a gambling problem, just don't take these picks.
Fair enough. Alrighty, Chris. What time are we at? Is it time for us to sign off?
We're getting close to 32 minutes, which is 31 minutes too long, I think, for a lot of people's attention spans.
So you want to save the special news for next week then?
We'll save the special news for next week. It's not that special news, everybody. It's just
more so for us, not for you.
All right, so let me go and find this music here.
Alrighty, so I will tell you everybody what they need to know. Make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to follow the audio podcast 11th Island on either platform. 350 and 500 subscriber giveaway coming up on YouTube. Make sure to check that out. Sports card playlist, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy the slate of games this weekend, guys.
Hey, see everybody.